Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Courtroom Insider. I'm Nate Eaton, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona tonight. It is June 12th, 2025. Lori Vallow Daybell has been found guilty of conspiring to commit the murder of Brandon Boudreaux, her former nephew-in-law. The verdict coming as a jury of 12 deliberated for less than 30 minutes. The verdict coming less than about 2 months from another guilty verdict in another trial where she was found guilty on the same charge for the death of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. This verdict coming a little over 2 years after she was found guilty of killing her children in Idaho and the former wife of her current husband, Chad Daybell, his former wife, Tammy Daybell. The trials for Lori Vallow Daybell are done, at least for now, assuming that the appeals do not go through. Today may have been the very last day of her life that she actually wore street clothes. For the rest of her life, she will likely be in a prison-issued uniform, soon to be in Idaho after she is sentenced here in Arizona on these two recent trials coming up on July 25th. I was in the courtroom for all of it. I want to walk you through it all and play some sound clips from today, play the verdict if you missed it, and then, of course, answer your questions. We have some shout outs too. It's just been a busy, hot day. Yes, I'm sunburned. Maybe you can't really tell. I'm looking at my screen over here. Oh, my goodness, it was so hot here. We had to start the day with donuts, of course. If you know the history of this, on Lori's first trial, I became friends, you could say, or close with people that we waited in line with every morning. And so on the final day before the jury took the case, or the jury got the case the night before. So on that final day, which was a Friday, juries like Thursdays and Fridays, it seems, I brought some donuts to everybody in line and we had a verdict within a few hours. Same thing happened with Chad's trial. Brought some donuts. We had a verdict within a few hours. His was on a Thursday. Last trial, I did not bring any donuts and the jurors went home. Then they came back the next day and we had a verdict. So today, I went to the store and bought some donuts and took them up to the gathering public. And man, oh man, did we have a verdict quick. I got to the courthouse around 9:30-ish, between 9:30. The jurors got there at 10. We saw them walk back into the jury room around 10-ish. And I was chatting with some people in line, and the jurors, the judge's assistant, who had been sworn in to watch over the jury, I saw her come out of the courtroom and she turned to the deputy who was there, and I watched. I was probably 20 feet away, 10, 15 feet away, and she said, "We have a verdict." And that was like before 11. And I said, "I think we have a verdict." And I quickly went running to my computer and checked, and we indeed had a verdict. Now, she could have said, "We have a question." The jury could have had a question. In Lori's first trial, they did. Or she could have said, "We have a problem, we have an issue." Instead, she said, "We have a verdict." Within 25 minutes, we were all in the courtroom as the verdict was read. And here's how that went.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
Yes.
Will you hand the verdict to my courtroom assistant? All right, the clerk will read and record the verdict.
In the Superior Court of the State of Arizona, in and for the County of Maricopa, State of Arizona versus Lori Daybell, CR 2022-001242-001. Verdict count 1. We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn in the above entitled action upon our oaths, do find the defendant, Lori Daybell, as to the crime of count 1, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder occurring on or about October 2nd, 2019, as follows. Guilty. Signed, foreperson. Are these your true verdicts, so say you one and all?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, on the court's own motion, I'll ask the clerk to poll the jury.
Juror number 1, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 2, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 4, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 5, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 6, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 8, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 9, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 11, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 12, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 13, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 14, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 15, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
All right, members of the jury, I'm going to excuse you at this time. I have one more legal issue I need to resolve before you can be released from the admonition. So please just hang tight in the jury room for what's hopefully a few minutes, and then we will let you know if we need your further service. Aggravation phase, we're prepared to proceed with. I'll ask the defendant. Yesterday, you indicated you didn't want to proceed with that and you would rather admit those aggravators. Is that still your desire?
I will still stipulate, Your Honor, even though I object to having an aggravator phase at all.
Okay, so the state has alleged this is a dangerous offense. Do you understand? And the state has also alleged that this particular crime that you've been found guilty of involved the use or of an accomplice. Is that the extent of the aggravators that you want to prove up?
To the jury, yes, that's all we were going to ask to do.
All right. So, Ms. Daybell, do you understand you have the right to have a jury decide whether or not those aggravators are proven beyond a reasonable doubt?
I do understand that.
And do you understand that by admitting those aggravators or stipulating to them that you'd be waiving your right to have a jury do that?
Correct.
Has anyone forced you or threatened you in any way to get you to waive that right to have a jury decide those two issues?
No.
Has anyone promised you anything to get you to waive that right to have a jury decide those two factors?
No.
Are you waiving those factors of your own free will?
Yes.
The court finds and do you in fact stipulate that this was a dangerous offense?
I do stipulate to that fact.
And you also stipulate that this particular crime would have involved did involve the use of a presence or use of an accomplice?
I will stipulate to that fact as well.
The court finds those to be knowingly, voluntarily, intelligently entered into stipulation. The court will find that those do exist as a legal determination. I'll order a pre-sentence report be prepared on both cases.
Can I waive a pre-sentence report and try to move up sentencing?
No, we're going to have one prepared.
Okay, so a couple things there. In Arizona, the prosecutor can file for aggravating circumstances. This is something new that I learned with this case, meaning you can say there were aggravating circumstances when this crime was committed. And the jury, if they find them guilty, they then have a little second phase to determine if there were aggravating circumstances. If they find there were aggravating circumstances, then the judge can add time onto the sentence of the person. Lori made a good argument to say, why does it matter? Because in Arizona, it's 25 years to life. And the judge said, yeah, you're kind of right. This was in the other trial. She argued against the aggravators. Here she stipulated if there were aggravators, you could have witnesses come up and testify. This happened in Idaho, but in Chad's case, because it was death penalty. In death penalty, there's the mitigation phase at the end, aggravating phase, where they determine if certain aggravators are met. You know, there could be a list of them, 9, 10, 3, 4, and the jury says they were met, then you get death in Idaho. She's not up for death penalty here. I want to make that clear, but she waived all that. She's going to be sentenced on July 25th. She asked the judge if she could waive her pre-sentence investigation. He said no. I'll be surprised if she talks with the pre-sentence investigator. She did not in Idaho. Refused to speak and cooperate with the PSI is what it's called there. Here it's called the PSR, pre-sentence report. And then it's to her benefit to cooperate. Maybe it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things because you want to cooperate so the judge might have a little bit of leniency on you. And Judge Boyce in Idaho, when Lori was sentenced, said you didn't even cooperate with the pre-sentence investigator. It did not help her. So Sentencing will be July 25th. She went on, and if you haven't watched the whole thing, you can on our YouTube channel. She went on to talk about how she wants to get out of here. She wants to get back to Idaho. She said, when can I be extradited, basically? And he said, I think it's within 30 days of her sentence date. So she'll probably be moved somewhere in August, sometime in August. And yes, I'll be back for the sentencing on July 25th, and we'll do Courtroom Insider again. After we went outside, and her attorneys did not have much to say, her advisory attorneys. These are Lori's advisory attorneys. How you guys feeling?
Any comment after today? Yeah. About what happened? How are you guys?
You glad it's over, Robert? Anything you want the public to know about the case?
Is she planning to work on any sort of appeal?
We don't have any. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing to say. They were polite. We appreciate that. I reached out to the prosecutor's office to see if they have anything to say. Also, if they have anything to say about the Melanie Pawlowski investigation. I will share that with you in just a moment. Here are some photos I took when Brandon was walking out of the courtroom with Kay, his wife Jenny, and Colby Ryan behind him. You can see behind them, there's a row of people, including his parents, some family members, some friends. There was members of the public who started to clap when Brandon walked out. Here they are addressing the media there, speaking in front of the microphones. First time we've heard from Brandon really in years. He did do one interview when the story first broke with Fox 13 in Utah, but he has remained out of the spotlight. And here is what he had to say.
For my, and, I'm forgetting.
You're all right. I prepared just a short statement that I wanted to share. Kay had something she wanted to share, and I want you guys to know that we stand united.
I got it now.
We're still family. We always will be, regardless of the things that happened. But go ahead, Kay. Share your thought.
Okay,
And then I'll share mine.
we got it. Okay, for my brother Jerry, we got the bitch again. That's for you, Jerry.
My statement is as follows. 2,078 days. I'm humbled. I can't even imagine how many hours have been spent by law enforcement and prosecutors tirelessly working to uncover the truth. The truth is that hatred, selfishness, and greed almost led to the end of my life. 12 strangers verified that Lori must be held accountable. I have heard the question asked, why hold this trial? She already has multiple life sentences. My response is simple. We owe it to those who are victimized and choose to follow the law to uphold justice on their behalf. So many victims never get this day. So I thank the judge and the jury who willingly put their lives on hold to complete this process. I did not enjoy sitting and giving someone who tried to kill me the chance to question me, but I owed it to Charles, to Tylee, to JJ, and to Tammy to speak because I could. I don't know the statistics of how many people never get the chance because they were killed or because we can't find the people who committed the crime. But we as a society owe it to them to move forward with prosecuting those who commit violent crimes. I've chosen in my life to be and live as a man who believes in Jesus Christ and in God. So I view my life from this lens. I heard this in this trial about loving everyone. I support this cause. However, I do not believe that all the things that were said follow that. The Savior did say, "Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity." The beautiful part of this human experience is, as Isaiah said, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes. When we trust the Lord to do this with our lives, he can do wonders with us. I'd like to share two things that I have used in my life to help me move forward and create beauty from the ashes. The first is from Viktor Frankl. He taught there's a space in life between stimulus and response where we can choose and have freedom. It is okay to feel hatred, anger, passion, and a myriad of other feelings when life's stimulus are unexpected or unfair or both. But true freedom comes from mastering our ability to respond in our actions independent of the stimulus, to choose who we will be and to act and not to be acted upon. Secondly, I believe every human being is a child of God and has immeasurable worth. Hating a person can be like a poison to our souls. It can take away our joy and our happiness. I believe we can have enmity towards someone's actions or choices while still forgiving them for our own selves, to have more room for love and happiness and joy. Truly living this principle is a process. It takes time. But as we apply these two principles, that of choice before response, and forgiveness and love, and valuing others as oneself, I believe that it makes our society better. So thank you for coming and supporting me in this, for all of you who have. And we're grateful today for those who let us have our due process. So thank you. It's a process. I will do my best. It's something that I believe, if you give away your hatred to the Savior, I would tell you that there is more room for joy and love for your family, for your friends, for those who do love you. So that's the best I can share. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but I appreciate the question.
What did you think that the jury came back less than 3 minutes?
I'm grateful that they did their responsibility, and I'm grateful for a verdict.
Brandon, where do you go from here?
I'll continue moving forward with my life. I have a beautiful wife. I have wonderful family. I have so much wonderful family that's waiting back there. I'll go back to anonymity, hopefully, and just live my life and be another person who tries to do the right thing in the right situation. And I want to say thank you to all the people who did the right thing, who came in, who gave up their time and participated in the process. There's a lot of people who don't get any thank yous that give up their time, and so I just want them to know I'm grateful.
I am grateful that I am standing next to this man right now.
Thank you,
Grateful
guys.
that he's here.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I've talked.
And there you go. I like what he said, how he had to speak and be here for Tylee, JJ, Tammy, and Charles. And his wife, had those beautiful comments too. That woman right there on the side of your screen left, the woman in the white jacket, she was a juror in the last trial with Lori. And she came today. I spoke with her. We were going through security around the same time, and she said that when she drove up, she felt nauseous. She just felt nervous. In fact, if you're watching, she told me she watches. If you're watching, message me. I didn't get to catch up with you. I was so busy at the end of today, but I'd love to catch up. So if you're watching, or if anyone here knows of jurors in this trial who might want to speak, or you are a juror, please reach out to me. Best thing to do is probably send me a Facebook message or email me, neaton@eastidahonews.com. Those come directly to me, and mark that you are a juror or something. And you might be wondering why we don't have any jurors on tonight right now. The court took them out a private way, and the judge held us in the courtroom until the jurors were escorted down and out of the building. They apparently said they didn't want to talk to media But remember, they apparently said that last time, and they walked them out the front door to all the cameras. They took different precautions this time and got them out of there. I had received information that of where they might be exiting, and I did run down there to try to catch them if any wanted to speak, but they were gone. They had left. One juror I did speak with, though, was in the last trial. You remember Tosh? She watches every night, and she's been there several times over the past few days and weeks coming to the trial. She's studying criminal justice, wants to go into that, and she always has some good insight. I caught up with her after to get her thoughts, and here's what she said. Okay, so why did you come out today?
To see what it's like to be on the other side, because I've been on their side, and I know what it's like going in blindly, not knowing anything about her. So it was cool to be on this side and kind of be like, wow, that's what I was doing, and that's what I went through, basically.
What'd you think the fact that the verdict came back in such a short amount of time?
I was surprised, because when it happened with us, everyone was so surprised how fast we were, but these people were like 20 minutes faster, you know?
Right.
So I was prepared to sit the whole day, and it came so fast.
Were you surprised by the verdict?
No.
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 What was it like seeing Lori Vallow on the days that you've been coming to court?
Honestly, I was a little bit scared because I saw in one of her interviews, she said that she's gonna watch everyone's interviews, and I'm instantly like, oh my god, I did so many interviews, she's gonna automatically know who I am if she sees me. And I think we made eye contact once, she smirked, and then we didn't make eye contact after that, but I'm like, she knows who I am, so I'm a little bit nervous.
You think you'll try to come to the sentencing?
I am coming.
You are?
Yeah.
Yeah. So has this kind of piqued your interest in criminal cases?
Yeah. And it's a great start to my journey in school too.
I remember,
so,
right?
Yeah.
When you've since we last spoke on camera, what, a month and a half ago? What have you learned about the case? I mean, have you watched everything, read everything?
Yes. Yeah, I've learned everything, and it's so sad. Like, more sad than what I was when we came out of here, because I've learned so much more since then, and I just don't understand how someone could be like that.
Right. Anything you want to add?
No.
You sure?
I think I could say thanks for everyone supporting me, because everyone always keeps messaging me even to this day, supporting me, thanking me and stuff like that.
Yeah, you were telling me that someone came up and gave you a hug that you didn't even know and thanked you in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said she was one of Lori's friends, and then off she went. But she thanked me and said she saw my interviews and stuff, so that was pretty cool.
Cool. Anything you want to add? I have to say that it helps to turn on your mic. And there's something special. I don't know if that's the word. That sounds cheesy. There's something about being in a courtroom when a verdict is read, especially after a case like this, especially after covering these things. But I've covered other cases that have lasted 2 hours and the jury comes back with a verdict. There's something about the system of just taking 12 random people, a jury of our peers, your neighbors, my neighbors, whomever, us, putting them on a jury and having them decide, rather than other systems throughout the world where one person, the judge, might decide. And that does happen in some courts if it's a bench trial and the judge is in charge. But when you hear them poll, especially when you hear them poll the jurors, you hear them speak. The only words that they will speak in the courtroom, unless you're the foreman, they hear it all. And then all they say is yes or no. It's just something about the system. And the first verdict in Lori's case, I remember, was quite emotional for many people. There were people crying in that courtroom. It was the first time. Detectives crying. It was a very emotional moment to have the mother of those children convicted. And there were people who wanted to be there for it. You and me, people in the public who just wanted to be in attendance because they have become so interested in the facts of this case. And I spoke with some of them, some who have come every day of the trial, some who were there for the first time today. Here's what they said. Here's what they told me after. So what did you think of the verdict, the jury coming back so quick?
Oh, I was thrilled. I knew it wouldn't take very much time. I was surprised at how quick they did come back, but thrilled with the verdict. Either way, she's going to spend her days in prison. But it's just the justice for Brandon and his family and everybody that's been affected by all of this. It just feels good that everybody got their justice.
What is it about this story that's captivated you?
Just the absolute insanity of all of the beliefs and all of just all the things they did, and thinking they could get away with so many things because they were exalted and so much better than everybody else. I don't know how you get to that point in life where you think that you're the chosen one and you're friends with Jesus and that all of these things. It's just astonishing. But the thing that first got me was the kids. I was just so heartbroken when those kids were missing, that I was just hoping for the best, but I expected the worst, and it turns out it was the worst.
Lori was on trial on the anniversary of the day of those kids being found.
Yes.
And, you know, that was a day that most of us, like you, don't forget. Were you in court that day?
I was.
And what did you think watching her, knowing that in the background?
It just made me more incensed than ever that she could just stand up there confidently, ask absolutely absurd questions that don't have anything to do with anything, when she essentially murdered her own children and her husband. And it was just unbelievable, the level of I'm so unself-aware of herself, I guess. It's insane.
Thank you. What was your name?
Melissa.
Melissa.
Thank you.
Okay, you've been here every day?
I've been here every day for both trials, for all of the hearings, and I think this is a sign it's time to go for Melanie's. A 30-minute verdict just tells what it tells me. And not just her. I think there's other people that are culpable in this too.
Why did this case captivate you so much that you would come day after day after day, lying down on the sidewalk and lying down upstairs? I mean, you...
Well, I know I talked to you before, and I am a moderator for Cresha, okay? Easton's case. Charles Vallow's her uncle. JJ is her nephew. Her brother is Todd's biological dad. And I'm here for her, I think.
Yeah.
It's been watching the family go through so much, you know?
Yeah.
So.
All right, thank you. What about you? What brought you out here?
I'm interested in true crime in general, and I think this case captivated a lot of people because it involved the kids and the family, and just there were so many layers to this. And I agree, there are many members of this that have not been held accountable yet, and I think that in the interest of justice, they need to send the message that you can't get away with this type of thing. They've gotten Chad and Lori, but there's still other members that are probably still involved in some of these activities. And I think hopefully we'll be back here for Melanie's trial so that people can be held accountable for their actions. So that was interesting to learn this trial, that there's an active investigation going on against Melanie. So hopefully we'll all be back here in a few months for that.
One of the big headlines that came out of it. And why did you come out here every day?
Honestly, I think...
Not every day. Were you here every day?
I was here
every day. You were? Yeah.
I was actually 4:45. I was here first many mornings, you know, getting up. I think, you know, Lori tries to present herself as like the super mom and this. I mean, I think she appears to the public like, you know, she's just the sweetest. I love everyone, like she said in her opening statement. And she has been able to fool so many people. And to me, I felt like these trials were about like, you can't fool, you know, you cannot fool us. We see through it. It's not right for you to be putting up that front as if you're amazing and blaming all these other people, including your own children that you murdered. I mean, it's just disgusting.
Did you find one piece of evidence, like the slam dunk piece? Was there anything that really stood out to you?
Yes, I mean, I felt like all of the days until Detective Hermosillo came on, that the jury had some room that maybe they could go either way. But when he came and testified, I really felt like he put it all together. And then when she didn't cross-examine him, I thought, it's done. It's just done. And I think when Balance came in, you know, he's able to kind of just add those last little pieces. And, you know, to me, it was like, yeah, it was locked up after Detective Hermosillo. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, you want to say anything?
We'll cut it there. Some other people had some thoughts. Now is where I want to hear your thoughts. I've done this before. I want to do it again. I want your 10-second thoughts. Send me a video clip of you. 10 seconds. That's it. Don't go over 10 or I won't use it. 10 seconds or less. Your thoughts about what was the key piece in this trial. I know you're going to say, I'm glad they got her and all that, but I want to know what you think the key piece was. Was it the Jeep? Was it the texts or the cell phone activity? Was it the storage unit? Was it a person's testimony? What was it that you think to you was the key piece of evidence? And I'll show those tomorrow night on Courtroom Insider. So send those to me by Friday afternoon so I can put them together. Here is something ironic. As I was leaving with Jordan, my photog, after we were burning up outside with everybody else, we walked back to our parking spot, which is a little bit of a distance from the courthouse. Hardly anybody ever parks there. There's many days we're like one of 3 cars. But today we walk over and I kid you not, there was a green thing that looked like a Jeep with a tire on the back. It was actually a new Ford Bronco. And there was a gray Jeep right there in our lot. I kid you not. I have never seen these before. And it was a Jeep Wrangler, and it was the green, and it was the colors, the gray and the green, and it was almost a weird little coincidence here at the end of the trial. It was weird. I had to take photos. First of all, we saw the green one. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a Wrangler with the tire on the back. And then we looked closer, and it was not. But then we looked and then we walked a little bit further, and we saw the gray one. So anyway, weird timing on all that. I did reach out to Trina Kay's office to see if they have a statement about today's verdict and also if they have a statement about Melanie Pawlowski's investigation, what they have to say about that. I was told we won't comment. We won't have any comment until after sentencing. We're unable to comment on a pending investigation. Figured as much, but thought I would ask, and we will see if anything progresses or happens or if anything's filed over the next few days or weeks with that. Wanted to show you these photos. I have been at all of the verdicts. The first upper left corner is Kay and Larry after Lori was found guilty on the first trial in April of 2023. Next to that, upper far right is Larry and Kay and me on Chad's guilty. Bottom left is Jerry Vallow and Kay Woodcock and me on Charles Vallow's trial. And then bottom right is me and Kay today. And it's 4 trials, just crazy to be. And then, of course, here are some photos that I had with Brandon today, just to document these. I think these type of photos I keep in my phone and think back. And sometimes, you know, when my kids ask stories or whatever, I say, and maybe when they get older, I say, you know, let me tell you a story. Because who knows what they will think in 10, 15 years. It's fascinating as your kids grow up. Like I was telling, who was I telling today? Somebody that my kids, this has been 5-6 years. 6 years ago, my daughter was 7. She just turned 12. She didn't care about any of this news stuff. Didn't really understand or ask. And now she wants to know the details. Now she wants to watch the Dateline. She wants to know what the verdict was. She's kind of grown up with it. And I think as they get older, I look back now and I wonder, oh, what did my dad do every day when he went to work? It just changes things. And that's a good transition that I didn't plan to talk about newspapers.com. Big thanks to them. They have been sponsoring Courtroom Insider for the past 2.5 weeks while we've been here in Arizona. Not only that, they're sponsoring, we do a weekly column called Looking Back. Brittany, my colleague, does a great job where she goes to newspapers.com and finds interesting stories on what happened this week in history in Idaho. So if you go to eastidahonews.com / I think looking back, bear attacks Idaho Falls man and 2 teenagers. Toddler pulled from irrigation ditch miraculously survives. Teen's death ruled accidental. Fence issue leads to shooting. Man escapes state hospital south. She has these historical columns that we put up every Wednesday. And newspapers.com is the perfect sponsor for that, of course. So you can go check all those out every Wednesday if you're into that. The stories you all have been sending me have been incredible as you have gotten onto newspapers.com and done your history. I got one from a woman who said she's found so many fascinating stories. I'd love for your audience to know that they have ancestors from small town America. Local papers are a goldmine for uncovering rich and unexpected pieces of your family history. It's like looking through a window into the past and seeing your family going about their daily lives. Even though I've gathered most of what I can on my family, I'm keeping my subscription for the ability to go check anything that comes to mind. To illustrate, here are some of my discoveries. I watched my grandparents' early courtship unfold in the local society pages. I discovered my second great-grandmother was a teacher before the Civil War, raised a family largely on her own, settled a land grant in Oklahoma, and traveled frequently by train to visit friends. I also found some incredible family drama, like when my great-grandfather shot his daughter's fiance the day they announced their plans to marry. He landed in jail, and the couple married at the courthouse the next day. Later, when she fell ill to tuberculosis, the family reconciled, another chapter I followed through the paper, right down to her placing her youngest daughter in her parents' care when her husband took her to New Mexico to seek treatment. And a friend of mine recently shared that her family had an unsolved murder in Omaha in 1960. It was a big story at the time, but it appears the case has been lost in the police digital records, even though it was listed in the newspaper as unsolved in 1975. I found several articles about it and passed everything I could to the Omaha Police Cold Case Unit. With any luck, they'll locate the case documents and maybe reopen it if DNA evidence is found. Unbelievable. This is from a woman in California, San Jose. So there's so many of those type of stories that you can find on newspapers.com. I remember when my family moved when I was a senior in high school, and to a small town, and my parents started to get the local paper, and they would have contributors from this really small towns surrounding this small town contribute, and it was the funniest stuff. And the contributor would send in, there was maybe 10 people in the town. It was like a journal. She sent in every week, like, well, this week, Nate and Erica went to Arby's on Tuesday, and then they settled in and read a book. And on Wednesday, they had their friends from California visit. They had a great time and had a barbecue. Seriously, stuff like that. And you look at it and you laugh like, whoo, this is in the paper, but then that's the stuff that you want to read every single week. And you feel like you get to know these people, and then the couple died, and it was so sad. It's like, oh no, what are we going to do without reading them? Anyway, I digress. Newspapers.com has all that stuff, and it's truly just amazing what they do. Okay, we have some shout outs and questions. Many of you are asking, what are we doing with Courtroom Insider going forward? So tomorrow night, I'm hoping to have some interviews or something. If not, we'll maybe do a recap of the case, and then I'll be headed home. And in a couple of weeks, well, I'll keep you posted. Just follow along. I'm hoping to do a series of reports in July about another case that I've been working on. And then I'll be back here for sentencing. Of course, we'll do some Courtroom Insiders here. And then the Koberger case will start right away at end of July. And I'll be doing Courtroom Insider for that case almost every night throughout that trial. There's a couple days I'll be gone or going to different places, and I won't be able to do it. But other than that, plan on that for Courtroom Insider. And then there's some other cases that I'm looking into covering in the next few years. So next year or so, I should say. So that is what we have planned. I got to tell you that we had a really good, a woman a couple of weeks ago emailed me and said, I own a restaurant near the airport. I'd love for you to come in for lunch one day. I'll treat you to lunch. And just because I follow the case. And I said, I'd never responded because I didn't know if getting away for lunch is very hard around here because of a trial. Well, today the verdict came in before noon, and Jordan and I had time to go to lunch, and it was called the Lunch Lounge. And we just showed up, and I was live streaming on our YouTube feed. I was doing a lunch update, and we walked in, and she was not there. But they recognized us, and so she was able to. They were her husband and her daughter were there, and so her name is Casey Martinez. She said, "We don't want to shout out or in recognition. We love East Idaho News. They watch Courtroom Insider. They're open for breakfast and lunch Monday through Friday, 7 to 2. Awesome espressos, sandwiches, salads, a great drink bar, handcrafted lemonades, shaken iced tea, and energy drinks. We love to have you when you come in." So we showed up. We walked in. They got her on FaceTime. I chatted with her. I left her some mugshot buttons and some pens. We had the best lunch. Here's me with my turkey club, which was amazing. Jordan got a Chipotle ranch panini. And there he is with that. And a pear lemonade. I don't know if you can see it. I'll post the photos on my Facebook. So it was great. I'm gonna miss so many places to eat here in Phoenix. There's places to eat in Idaho Falls, of course, in East Idaho, but we've had a really really great time here in Phoenix. Okay, shout outs. So thank you, by the way. Thank you to the Lunch Lounge, and I would recommend it Monday to Friday if you're near there. It's kind of in a business development area right next to a hotel. Stop in for lunch. It was some really good stuff. Shout outs, Andrea and Scott Freschetti and your son. We have a photo here of us. They sent that to me. We have Mary and Kayla from Idaho, Preston. Thank you. Dinah 1116 from Hungary. Michelle Cook from Erie, Pennsylvania. Don Studley. Karen Erickson from Arizona. Karen, saw you a couple days at the trial. Alex from Centerville. You and your wife watch every day. Thank you very much. Andrea and Scott. Yes, I just mentioned you. They have a 10-year-old named Jackson. He's sad he didn't get to meet me. Jackson, thanks, buddy. Thanks for watching. I promise there's not much exciting about meeting me, but hopefully we'll meet one day. Garcia, Fan, and Dan, you've been watching us since Hawaii. Video just appeared in your YouTube feed, and you haven't been able to turn away. Well, thank you. My teenagers are so puzzled by me watching Courtroom Insider every night, even on vacation. I posted a video on Nate's Facebook page from Japan while we were on vacation. My kids think I'm crazy. They just don't understand my obsession with true crime and East Idaho news. I'm very flattered by that. Thank you very much. I appreciate your kind words. Sherry Clifton, thank you to you as well. And now we'll get to some questions. Rita, the cell phone number. So I should say, a lot of your questions, probably now we don't have we have a verdict. So they might be moot at this point, depending on, we'll just go through the list. Cell phone numbers were mentioned a lot in court. Do phone providers retire numbers involved in large court cases? That's a good question, Rita. I don't think so. I feel bad for whoever has my old number from Virginia. I got a new number when I moved here. I know that one of my friends a few years ago called it and said, "Hi, Nate." And he said, "This isn't Nate Eaton's phone number. Don't call again." The guy was not happy. So I don't think they retire them. But maybe they would. I'm sure they just recycle them. Hannah asks if I know if Chad was able to watch Lori's trial. I doubt he was able to watch it all. If he was able to watch, I don't think they get Core TV in there, but I don't know the specific channel lineup. I do know he does have a television in his cell. And I know that he has likely been made aware of the guilty verdict today. Do you know if Melanie was with Alex the night before Brandon was shot at? I have no idea. I don't know. I did wonder because they said that the cell phone, Alex's cell phone, pinged near her house. Or not pinged, but was in the area near her house the morning of the shooting. I wondered if he maybe spent the night at her house, but I don't know. Did you see the two spectators get removed from the courthouse for taking photos? Yes. However, they were removed from the courtroom and then they were allowed back in. So they didn't do anything naughty, from what we understand. I think that sometimes, hold up your phone like this. They have security cameras and they're able to pull what's called the FTR, for the record. And they go back and they can review it. And if you look suspicious, they're not going to handle it. Of the excused alternates, was one of them the women that, excuse me, I'm tired. Was one of them the woman that smiled and things seemed to click with her? Yes, Ada asks that. I said the other day that one of the jurors, when the tire was being wheeled in, Hermosillo, they asked what that was, and he said it was a tire. She kind of smiled like, Like, I got it. And then she wrote something in her notebook. She was excused. She was one of the alternates. If she's watching, I'd love to talk to her too. I was kind of watching her. She was front row center the whole trial, and she was taking good notes. Do you really think Lori's dad was giving her legal advice? I heard they talk all the time. I don't think that is correct. I don't think that's right as far as them talking all the time. From what I understand, he's talked to her a few times, but never about legal issues. So I don't believe that that is true, at least while she's been in prison. Maybe he gave her legal advice before all this, but I don't think that they're talking while she's in prison. She does talk to her mom and has had on and off communication, I believe, with her sister, but not much. It just kind of depends. Since they can't bring charges on Chad for Charles, can they bring them on Brandon? Oh, with Chad. Okay, that makes sense. Can they charge Chad with Brandon's crime, with the crime against Brandon? We talked about that last night, Nancy. No, well, they could, but they have said they're not going to because they don't believe that there's enough for a conviction. So they don't want to pursue it, and I don't know. It might be a moot point by now, but can you tell us what the jury faces look like when the closing statements were made by Lori and Trina? Yeah, good question. They were focused. They were very focused. They were straight ahead at Trina. And then Trina, when she had her power, how it's set up in the courtroom is there's a massive like movie screen that's directly in front of the jurors. So everything is big. So when they wheeled in the tire, you can see it on the big screen. And then there's a monitor here by the witness stand. And then there's some monitors in the gallery that we can look at. So they've got a straight on view, like I'm looking at you. And they were focused. They were kind of locked into her and Lori too. They did a good job with poker faces the whole time. I did see a jurors yawn a time or two during one of the real technical testimonies, I think, about the cell phones, but not saying that he was boring, just, when I was tired, yawns. I think I'll sleep well tonight. I understand how court TV couldn't show the agent's face, but why didn't they show us the slides he had prepared? Good question, Diana. If the slides contained, the order was not to show cell phone numbers, addresses on anything in the trial. Cell phone numbers, addresses, anything that might still be considered private. Now, they did read out some numbers, but they tended to dip the mute on that. So if one of the slides contained that, also if the slide was overly graphic, there weren't any in this trial, but if it was overly graphic, like in Charles's, the autopsy photos, the judges ordered not to show that. And they probably were overly sensitive. You want to be more careful rather than try to push it and accidentally show something you shouldn't. What was the most surprising moment for you, Nate, in this case? I think the fact that they said Melanie's still under investigation. That to me was the headline. Wasn't surprised by the verdict. Wasn't surprised by the surveillance footage in the storage unit. We've gone through that. There's a lot of evidence that I wasn't really surprised by, but the Melanie, that surprised me. Are the jurors allowed to speak with you now that it's over? How do you get a hold of them if they're willing? Good question. In Idaho, they asked the jurors, who's interested in talking to the media? And those that are, they give them their cell phone and their email addresses. And then I requested from the court who's interested in talking to the media, and they gave me a list. That was on a second trial. The first trial, I had two jurors reach out to me on Lori's first trial. And so they contacted me, and they had the first trial Dateline aired that night. And one of the jurors went home and watched it and then reached out to me, saw me on Dateline. The other juror had heard about me from a friend and reached out to me. Chad's trial, the jurors, we were given a list, and I called them all up. Actually, before I was given the list, a former news anchor I worked with, his daughter knew one of the jurors. So the news anchor friend, Brad, reached out to me and said, my daughter knows him. And I said, well, she asked. So we coordinated the night before, the Sunday night before, and I took him to breakfast, and we did an interview right after that. Nick Vogel was his name. And then I met with the other jurors. Here in Arizona, they don't do that. Some states you write a letter and they give the letter to all the jurors. It just depends on the state. What they did here in the first trial is they asked the jurors, do you want to speak to the media? And apparently they said no, or some did and some didn't. They said no. And so then they said, okay, you can go home. And they walked him out the front door and the media pounced. And that's how we got a few of them. This trial, they said, we're not going to do that again. They said, do you want to talk to the media? They apparently said no. Or sometimes when you're in a group, if you don't really mind, like, yeah, I'll talk to the media, but everyone else says no, you're going to be like, yeah, I'll go along with you. And then they walked them out another entrance and they were gone before we even made it outside. So I don't know their names. I don't know if I'll get any jurors this time around. I'd love to, and hopefully they can reach out. But if not, I understand. In your opinion, did Alex Cox really pass away from natural causes? If I remember right, it was reported a blood clot in his lung, but it was a big coincidence that it happened during all the Lori events in 2019. I can't help but think about Tammy's death, which was originally reported as natural causes, but we learned later that Chad and Lori were involved. And that's written to me from a guy named Alex. Alex, I share your sentiment, as do many people. So I'm going to show you, we got the full autopsy and toxicology, and it may be that this is the one coincidence in all of this. That's what was told to me by an investigator years ago. There are people associated with the case who say, nope, something happened. Chad and Lori did something. We don't know why. There are people who say Alex Cox went to Mexico and got drugs, some like prescription drugs before he died, and maybe that did something. There are people who say maybe he was the first COVID death, one of them. He had been in Vegas marrying Zulema. But we have the medical examiner and toxology reports on our website, and it is very in-depth that according to the extensive investigative history, and provided that the detectives at the time, the decedent was reportedly complaining of chest pain and shortness of breath for approximately 1 week prior to being found unresponsive on his bathroom floor on 12/12/2019. He was transported to a local hospital where death was pronounced shortly after arrival. According to his wife, the decedent had no past medical history and was not taking any routine medicines. The decedent's wife reported the decedent had complaints of burning in his chest and shortness of breath on Friday the 6th. Law enforcement also relate that they have an open investigation involving the decedent. Based on the autopsy findings and investigative history as available to me, it is my opinion that Alexander Lamar Cox, 51, died as a result of bilateral pulmonary thromboemboli with contributing factors of arteriosclerotic and hypertensive cardiovascular degrees. The manner of death is natural, and he was cremated. So that's that. I don't know. The bigger thing is, if he would not have died, we would have at least 4 other trials. Well, we'd have him on trial for Brandon, for Charles, for JJ, Tylee, Tammy. Yeah, you'd have 4, maybe 5. They combine JJ and Tylee. Can you imagine? What a chain of events. How do you do such a great job keeping the... Oh, my TV just flipped. Well, I better turn that off. I must have been talking for longer than an hour. There we go. Pretend that didn't happen. How do you do such a great job keeping the video camera away from accidentally pointing toward the jury box or the undercover special agent that testified? Oh, that's all Core TV. That's not me. They do a good job. In your opinion, why do you think Alex Cox called Chad Daybell instead of Lori from the burner phone in the current Brandon trial? I don't know. I wondered that myself. Maybe part of their ruse, I guess. I have no idea. Maybe Chad set it all up. Maybe Chad said, this is how you're going to kill him. Go here, do this, park there, do that. Then you'll try to kill Tammy the same way the next week. Chad's fingerprints were all over it. Like, not figuratively, but, well, not literally, but figuratively. In your opinion, do you think Brandon Boudreaux would want his wife, Melanie, to be locked up for a long period of time? Or do you think he wants her to be free from prison so she can be a mother to the kids? Well, if you just saw in that exchange outside, somebody asked him that about, do you think Melanie should be charged? And he said he didn't want to talk about that today. I don't know. I don't know. I'll ask him. I hope he does an interview one day. And if he does, I'll let you know. I'll ask that question. He might not want to talk about it yet because it's under investigation, but we'll see. Where has Lori's mother been with the Lori trials? Have you seen her mother at all or given her interviews or posted jail phone calls? I saw her mother at one hearing in January when I flew out. She came there. She wasn't there necessarily to support Lori. They have told me repeatedly, her family, that they don't support what she's done, but she came to see her. But no, she has not come to any of the trials. And I don't know how often they're talking or what they're talking about. I wonder what the software is you use to go live and share the screen and such. Well, it's a couple of things. We have a program called OBS Studio that we use. And then I have what's called an ATEM Mini Blackmagic little control panel in front of me. It's like a little control board. I don't know how to show it to you, but well, maybe I can hold it up. I just don't want to lose the connection. So I have this thing right here. That's my little control thing. So I push the buttons and I switch between the screens, and I can have 4 sources in here. And then I have this little thing, which when I push buttons, things appear on the screen like that. Or like, oh, if I push that button, you don't hear me. So that one still works. Now I'm playing with buttons. So anyway, these are my hotkeys that I call them. I got to redo them all, but Jordan did them for me, actually. Has anyone ever pointed out to you the consistent presence of hot, bald men through this whole case? First Charles, a hot, bald man, is murdered. And those who help him get justice, Lieutenant Ray Hermosillo and Prosecutor Rob Wood, are also hot, bald men. You're balding too, Nate. What's the trend? Thank you. I don't know if I'm balding. But yes, I guess they're all attractive. Why did Trina K not bring up the text about Lori's phone about Brandon being dark? She said she wasn't going to go there with this trial. The dark, the light, all that stuff, the religious cult stuff. They didn't even bring it in. Otherwise, we probably would be on trial for another 4 days. They clearly didn't need it. They clearly did not need it to get their conviction. And they probably could have gotten the conviction with even less people. They may have gotten the conviction without the cell phone activity, but they wanted to include that. So that's probably why. Will Emmy be interviewing anyone from this case? I don't think so. I don't think so. Last night you mentioned you're going to go out to the pool and do a live. That's very rude to those people who are trying to swim. Okay, well, I didn't. I didn't go out and do a live. I've said I do a Courtroom Insider by the pool. But if people are in it, it could be a distraction, and I wouldn't do it. So I'll stay here in my room. Okay, everybody, I think that we are going to call it there. And I just want to thank you for watching. Thank you for being here during this past trial. We'll do one more show tomorrow night. Might not have much to say, or I might have all these interviews. I don't know yet. I'm going to work on getting that done. But really appreciate you watching. Here is where you can find me. Well, you know where I'm at on social media. Just, look me up, follow along. And we'll see you tomorrow night. It's been great having you here. Once again, guilty, 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 guilty. Have a good night. We'll see you later.